jump right in. User experience design introduction, pardon me. UX designer is concerned with the entire process of acquiring and integrating a product, including aspects of branding, design, usability, and function. It's a story that begins before the device is even in the user's hands. User experience design is the process of manipulating user behavior through usability, usefulness, and desirability provided in the interaction with a product. User experience design encompasses traditional human to computer interaction design and extends it by addressing all aspects of a product or service by perceiving as perceived by users. Sorry, there's a chat message here. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, thanks, Alex. I will unlock that. I'll see what's going on there. No product is an island. A product is more than the product. It is a cohesive, integrated set of experiences, exactly like I was saying about working in teams. Think through all the stages of a product or a service, from initial intentions through the final reflections, from first usage to help service and maintenance, and make them all work together seamlessly. Design used to be the seasoning you'd sprinkle on for taste. Now it's the flour you need to make the start of the recipe. So that's one nice little analogy. I think you guys have many times heard me refer to it as the skeleton and the bones of that. If you think good design is expensive, you should look at the cost of bad design. So UX puts the focus of the entire web product on the user. Aim and shoot. So UX is a process where we make sure the user journey is as satisfying as it possibly can be. There's problem solving. So more than anything, a UX designer is a problem solver. I'm not sure why this little thing is here. UX designers consider how users feel about a web product, the ease of use of the product, how valuable the user perceives the product, how efficiently the user can perform tasks, and how memorable the process is, and the overall satisfaction of the users. So what's the goal of a web product? So we have more sales conversations, we sign up for service, we want more traffic, etc., more higher SEO rankings, increased engagement, etc. Lots of different ways that your client may want or look for one of these, or if they're starting off, then we're going to probably need to encompass everything.
Sorry, Christina.
Yeah.
What is
OSE? I'm sorry?
The last page, not this page. What's the here?
Oh, SEO?
Oh, yeah.
That's search engine optimization. Oh. So that is essentially how high you are on the Google ranking. So you can do that with by paying for Google ads and Google clicks, but also a really good website will help you do that as well. UX design process in 2 stages. So the problems, so the ask from the client. So that's a big term. It's like, what's the ask? What's that means? Like, what's the brief? What do they exactly need? Then we define the users, and then we define the problem. So when we say define the users, that's thinking the personas that we did. It's important to summarize. So what to ask from the client. So who the client is and what their products and services are that they offer. What is their value proposition? What success have they had? What hardships have they had? What do they want you to do? How do you ensure the brand integrity is considered? And define the existing problems the client recognizes with their product, what the goals are for the owner once the solution's created, and what does success look like to the client? Kind of circling back to these things here. So we define the users, just like I mentioned, the personas. So those are based on analytics, the client interviews, and results of surveys. We create personas, which are typically one-page documents of existing potential and targets of the end users. Then we define problems. So there's usability testing. So these are all things that we just did last semester. So thankfully, it's nothing new, right? So define the problems users are having with the product and make recommendations on how to fix them. So anything like, you know, I can't find the contact button, and I don't know how to add something to the cart. It's too hard to find. So that's really easy, or that's done lots of times with surveys. So we ask the potential users about their existing products, again, with the usability testing. So we find a list of questions. Do they like the product? What is it difficult? Was it working? What do they wish to be included, etc. Then we define our problems, analytic analysis, if available. Usually it is if someone already has a website, you're able to go and check analytics. Investigate the problem successes with the product using Google Analytics. This stuff is very much probably well beyond most of our heads. It certainly goes beyond my head. So when I go through things like this, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed and that you need to be able to read all these charts and graphs. You don't have to. There's lots of times that these companies will hire, like say myself, I will hire a company to evaluate the analytics type thing, and then they will be able to do that. And then that's where I find the solutions.
Now, so if I have, sorry, if I have an app,
mm-hmm.
Does Google Analytics work for apps too?
Not for apps, no.
Okay.
No, for the apps, that's probably a good question. I'll get back to you on that, Nazreen. I'm not sure how you would check. Probably be able to see that from an app through the back end of that, not through the Google Analytics, but you'd be able to go into the back end of the app, because I'm not a programmer, so I don't really know how that portion of things work. When it comes to analytics, you're not really looking at, when you're doing an app, you're more or less looking probably more at the functionality of the app, which would be where the testing is. But you would probably still be able to see the heat map, which is where people are touching the menus. So I think there's probably another app that helps you test your apps. So a heat, if you can, exactly what it is, a heat map. So you've got your phone and say my app is pulled up here, and perhaps you've got your cart button way down below at the very bottom, and it's say blue, which means it's not touched very often. Then that's going to show you that area, then that's lost, obviously, because no one's hitting that. And again, there's companies that do that. A friend of mine owns a company that does all that sort of testing. But when you say from an app standpoint, I'm quite confident that you're able to check that from the actual back end. Is that good?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. No problem. The solutions. Oh, I believe we did that. Or maybe not. Site architecture, site layout, test, iterate, repeat, and next steps. So our site architecture is site map. Site map, redefine the content structure of the product based on all of your research. So again, where do we need our main headings to go, and where do we need our subsections to be? Our site architecture and a user flow. So define the paths for each task that is asked of the user. So your main pages, gosh, I don't know why this little thing is popping up here. Your main pages, on click, you're able to go here and here. So again, it's just a little more almost like a wireframe version of your architecture. And then here's your actual wireframe. So redefine the layout of each page, navigation, placement, and where information will live best based on your research. So again, people are maybe commenting that they can't find the cart because it's down at the bottom. Thank you. Coffee delivery. That's where you might need to move it up. Now we have our layout. So our prototype is to create an interactive prototype of the wireframe focusing on user flow and user usability. This looks like it was done in Envision, but a lot of you folks were using XD. Testing. So usability test. Test the new design with current or potential users based on your personas. So if you did build your personas based on, or if you built those profiles based on personas, which are like fake, you'll obviously then want to test with people around that area and also beyond that, tons and tons of testing. Record any issues to fix the next iteration. Then your next step would obviously be to iterate. Now you have to fix the issues, and then your final one is retest. Is it successful now? Is the text still too small? Is that button, still not quite in the right spot? So our final next step, so a summary of the next steps for future iterations of design. Define a plan to measure the success of the new design. Here's a little video. I'm not going to bother playing that because, well, you don't need to. You can do that on your own time. A UX design process. So the big money maker question is, how much do UX UI designers make? So a UX salary for a designer. It is a very, very much of a growing industry. Design still, it's never going to go anywhere, whether there's a crappy pandemic or not. Not sadly, that we'll always have work. But if you think about where everyone's going, it's digital, which means websites. And that's where you need people like us. So in Hamilton, a UX designer can typically make 45 to 84. Oh, where's the money at? So that's where you might want to be. So good job working remotely.
Okay.
So
is 45K what a junior UX designer would be making, and 84K is what a senior experienced designer?
45, to be honest, I'm not sure on a junior startup. There's potential. I don't think it's going to be that high, but it could potentially be like 40, I think. You guys, if you look up some of those jobs, see what that starting salary is. There's great potential as a senior. You could also potentially go beyond the 80 plus.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, right. Everyone's like, now I can get that car I needed, or right. Working remotely, same as design. We all work remotely, and then obviously finding remote work. So a lot of